What is up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Football, Sis, where we are going to break down the madness that was Week 8, coming out of the Bipocalypse, coming out of more motherfucking injuries, which I swear will never be
never ends.
Never-ending escapes, and dive into all the good stuff. Some highs and highs of fantasy football this week, and some lows and lows from fantasy football week, is my opinion. How'd your fantasy football week go, Ange?
Well, I beat you.
You did.
So,
I know.
We didn't mention it last week because I think I just slipped my mind. And then I looked and I was like, oh no.
I looked and it was somebody else. And then I circled back and I was like, oh, it's Ange. Shit. Okay. Yep. But what a week, though. Bipocalypse week was the worst week, too.
It was awful. I had no running backs. None. They all got hurt. I had James Conner, I had Amari Hampton, and then I was just patching it together. And then I was trying to make it work with these backups. And then I got a trade and I got Chase Brown and the Angels sang. Oh. And then I really didn't think I was going to beat Amanda because she has CD. She has, CD and Dak.
Yeah.
And that was just a
Dak Prescott game. Ruined my life this week. If I would have played Jordan Love, we wouldn't have had a conversation here.
Exactly. But then random dudes that just broke out, like Troy Franklin. Okay.
Oh yeah. Even your guys that Alec Pierce still did decent. He didn't goose egg you, you know?
Exactly.
Taylor Algier had that booty time, trash time touchdown. And I was okay.
Yes. Because I was between him and the backup.
Isaiah Davis.
Davis. For my running back. That was my Band-Aid running backs. Let me see if this holds the water in the tub with but then I got some Flex Seal and it worked.
Yeah.
But, I was between them. My gut said Algier, flopped them. Algier was stinking it up. The other guy was doing better, but then it was okay. So
it all ended up working out. It worked
regardless of our league. How did the other leagues you're in go?
Yeah, good. I won in the league I'm in with my husband. I'm destined. I've been in the championship 2 years in a row and I've never won. So I've lost into the championship every year. And so I'm I will make it this year. And I'm 6-2 now in that league. 5-3 in our girls league, 6-2 in the other. I'm sitting good. It's also that time of the year, which this probably doesn't get talked about often enough, where if you have a really good team, like my team in our league, I have a good team. I don't really need to make a change. I've got some guys hurt that'll come back. Bucky will come back at some point. Mm-hmm. And at this point, you almost have to just take the slap in the face and take the L's. It's not that big of a deal. And that's really hard for my ego, right? It's hard for everybody's ego to take a loss, right? Yes. It's hard. But I was trying to make trade offers this morning and I'm Amanda, what are you doing? Don't trade these good guy players simply to try to get a win in week 10. Mm-hmm. Just, I could potentially lose another week. Just take the L, right? Yeah. And so if you do have a winning roster right now, what's it called when it's the 5-3
record.
There we go. Couldn't think of that word. It slips my mind often. I was filming a whole ass TikTok and couldn't think of the word record, and I keep trying to use other things and I had to delete it. I was Amanda, what the fuck are you doing? But if you have a winning record right now and you're in the playoff room, it's okay to fall to the bottoms of the playoffs. Yes, obviously you want that bye if you can get it, but if you can't, you don't want to trade parts of your team to try to get a bye and then lose your first week in the playoffs, okay?
Right.
Now, if you have a losing roster, you probably need to start to make some shifts and shake some shit up. So don't be afraid to make some moves. Ange did. She made some moves to figure out how do I get my team back into a place where it's going to help get me across the finish line, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
That was cool.
Well, break down your play of the week from this past week.
Well, my play of the week was the Breece Hall play. So I think every week, I know I came in to fantasy football a little hesitant on Breece Hall. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just going to poop down his leg, whatever. And he had maybe a couple weeks that were, but then he's really starting to shine. My theory is maybe he's showing off for other teams so he can skedaddle from New York. But
for sure.
My play of the week was him getting the ball in the backfield, starts his run, fakes like he's going to throw it, but then actually throws it and scores the tutty. Mason Taylor grabs it. And Mason Taylor had a great catch over top of the defender. So that was kind of like a 2-in-1 type of thing. I don't want to see teams 0-7. as much as I'm not a Jets fan, I never would be a Jets fan, but it's sad when you're like, these guys are out here trying. And then there was all this crap that Justin Fields had to deal with over the course of the week. And then if Tyrod wasn't sick or whatever, injured, he probably would have been the starter. So he got his kind of like, godsend moment, and he went in there and showed everybody. So just all that stuff. Now, yes, they were playing against a Cincinnati defense who is stinky poo-poo, but I still saw some good things there. So that was my play of the week. What about you?
I love it. Well, my play of the week was Michael Pittman. I really like the Colts this week, but Michael Pittman made an insane one-arm catch with like really, really good coverage. And this is why I always say like fantasy football is a brand new year every single year, because if you played fantasy football last year, you know that Michael Pittman was like fucking relevant. I had him in one of my leagues. I really thought maybe he'd be something. And this is what can happen when a player gets a quarterback upgrade. They can really step up into the lineup and do really, really well. And we're watching that happen with Michael Pittman. He's just playing out of his mind with Daniel Jones. That entire offense just is dialed in together, and it all comes at the helm of someone who can take charge in it as a quarterback, which is insane that we're saying that about Danny Dimes when again he was struggling so bad with so many other teams. So it's fun to see two guys kind of really get their moment. Michael Pittman's a little bit older, so the fact that he's still able to shine like this with a good quarterback, it's fun. And we're watching Indianapolis make their way into the playoffs and potentially try to do something with this team, which is fun to see.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right, who takes your vet of the week for you this week?
So I'm going on the Philadelphia Eagles. You might think I'm about to say Saquon Barkley because he did have a very, very stellar game in week 8. I don't even know what week we're on anymore. But I'm going Tank Bixby because Saquon left at the end of the third quarter with seemingly a groin injury. So that's something that you need to be monitoring. Now they go into a bye week in week number 9. So really nothing to be super concerned about going into week 9. But you don't want to see a stud guy like that go down. So, but Tank Bixby took over. He literally was in the game for 2 quarters. Okay. And maybe not even the full 2 quarters. And he had 9 carries for 104 yards. When I heard that stat line, I was just like aghast. Like, what? So if you didn't think that you needed him as a handcuff, you need him as a handcuff. He is the direct guy that you need. Wouldn't even think about Will Shipley or whoever else. Just Tank Bixby is the guy. So if Saquon were to go down, and I know we were worried about Saquon in the beginning of the year, is injury going to plague him? Is he going to see the good stuff again? But stash him if you can is my advice there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I actually have 2 vets of the week, which, whatever, but we're going to give a little bit of attention to 2 guys and I'll be fast, I promise. But Jonathan Taylor, this is his second consecutive 3 touchdown fucking game.
Insane.
Like, holy crap. That was, and again, he was kind of one of those guys that you put him in the category of like with Chase Brown when you were drafting. And Jonathan Taylor has been a clear front runner as a running back, which again, we love to see. I was very Colts heavy this week on my choices. But we also have to put a little bit of respect on Myles Garrett's name. We're never going to have a vet of the week be a defensive player because, yes, obviously defensive has fantasy relevance, but not to the stature of these offensive players. And Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in a single game, broke the record for the Browns. I mean, that man is a freaking force of nature. And you feel so bad for him because you know that they got him to stay with the Browns because they made him all these promises and we're watching the Browns struggle yet again. Myles Garrett deserves to get onto a team that can win a fucking Super Bowl. And I swear it's not the Browns. And I just feel bad for him, but bow down to you, my sir, because holy shit, you're a beast.
Yes. You know what he's doing. So it's almost Halloween. So when we record this, it's Tuesday.
Oh my God. He's going to have the best Halloween costume ever.
Yes. So the Halloween costume, number 1, but then he decorates his home and then he makes like the tombstones of all the quarterbacks he sacked. So he's just going to have like, who did he sack? Well, who did they play? No, I can't remember now.
Oh God, you asked me too fast too.
That head.
Is it Patriots? Drake May.
Okay, Drake May. So he's going to have Drake May like 5 times. Drake May. But that's my favorite. And then the Halloween costume. I can't wait for that because one of my favorite holidays. But so he's just adding to his decor.
I agree. Rock it out with your rookie of the week.
Rookie of the week is RJ Harvey. He really showed up in week number 8. That doesn't mean that you are completely forgetting about J.K. Dobbins at all. He's still extremely relevant. They went against a defense that just wasn't really great, so he had some opportunities to shine. He carried the ball 7 times, 46 yards. He also really made an impact in the receiving game, which really gave him some fantasy upside. So something to watch. not someone to kind of go all out on Audrey Harvey. Hey, I should be starting him over J.K. Dobbins or other big players, but definitely a guy that should be on your radar as a great rookie for the week.
Absolutely. There were a lot of those like RB2s that really showed up this week. RJ Harvey, Ollie Gordon looked great this week. Isaiah Davis looked great this week. So it was kind of fun to see some of the Woody Marks, really started to take over that backfield. So it was fun to see some of these guys who, we thought maybe could be something, not make their way and take over the starters offense because it's not what's happening, but be able to be involved in a way that's still relevant. It's fun to see for those guys too.
Yes.
Well, my rookie of the week is we're just going to give Cam Skattebo his moment because we're all going to miss Cam Skattebo and his insane antics in the NFL so much.
We should have a beer and be pouring out one.
I know. We should be. That's what we need to be doing. Homie, because God damn, Cam Skattebo, you were so fun to watch. So this is our memoriam to Cam Skattebo because he's out for the season with one of the most gnarly injuries I've seen in a while.
It was icky.
Oh, that was it. It was intense. So I don't think the network we were watching it on realized how bad it was. So they ran it back on a replay. And I was like, oh, that's one of those ones where you're like, we're not going to show that on national television because it was gnarly.
That's like his guys around him saw it and were immediately like, get over here, get over here. Then poor Jackson Dart, his bro, is just yelling on the sideline, X-flip.
Yeah, poor Jackson Dart. Yeah, that team, I mean, it just sucks because you watch they were so exciting. They were good for the NFL. Everyone was tuning in to watch Cam Skattebo fuck shit up. And fucking poor Giants fans, man. They watch Malik Neighbors go down, Cam Skattebo go down. It's just like, any hope. They're like, oh, shit, Malik Neighbors. And then Jackson Dart comes in and Skattebo comes in and they're like, oh, yay. And then it's like, never mind. JK, joke's on y'all.
Falling to the ground.
I don't know. Is it worse to be a Browns fan or a Giants fan? I don't know. Both are unfortunate. So I feel bad for you guys. I feel bad for you guys. All right, well, let's go over some injury updates to get you guys prepared for the weeks ahead. And then we're going to dive into all of our week 9 sit starts of the week. So obviously, we already talked about it. Cam Skattebo out for the season here. Quinshon Judkins did leave with a shoulder injury. They do have a week 9 bye. So let's see how that shakes out. But just if you're the Judkins manager, make sure you keep a pin in that just to make sure. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. He did leave. He looked in good spirits. He looked fine. I'm sure they pulled him due to obscene caution because they don't want him to get hurt. But keep an eye on that as well. Marvin Mims is in concussion protocol, which does only kind of elevate Troy Franklin a little bit here as well. Luther Bird in concussion protocol, not anything that's super fantasy relevant, but you want to know about. Joe Flacco did suffer a mild shoulder injury. He has shown up on the injury report. He's a really, really great streaming quarterback option. So just keep an eye on him. He also is the only reason the entire offense is relevant right now. So if for some reason he's out, clutch your pearls, girls, because that's going to be a little awkward. It's going to be a little awkward for all of us. Carson Wentz got fucking mauled. Oh my God. This poor man in the game. He's limping. He's holding both shoulders. And they're like, go back out there, Carson. Go throw another one,
they're
Carson.
Like, Carson, throw with your feet. Just throw with your feet.
Carson, JJ's not ready yet. Go in. I'm like, what? Can they just pull in this like unknown rookie that sits on the bench and like puts a helmet on and then takes it off with he's got like good hair. I'm like, can we just throw him in? Because you're going to kill this man.
Right. I'm sure you could just throw, Justin Jefferson back there. Hey, throw this ball a couple times and he'd make it work.
Okay. So that was unfortunate. So we will see JJ McCarthy back. Terry McLaurin did re-aggravate a quad injury, the quad injury that he immediately, that's why we're all worried about Scary Terry coming back. So just keep your eye on it. That's unfortunate if so. Bryce Young was dealing with that high ankle sprain, so probably going to see Andy Dalton again this week, but it's still a 50-50 hit.
Wait, that's not his name.
Oh, the Red Rocket.
There it is.
The Red Rocket, which I had to pick him up in Superflex because I have no quarterbacks. They're all hurt. And Andy Dalton just got his ass handed to him. I was like, good for you, Andy. Get back up, Andy. It was unfortunate. Jaden Daniels, watching that hamstring. We'll see what happens there. Same thing with Michael Penix Jr. We'll watch what happens with him and his bone bruise situation. Isaiah Pacheco, MCL sprain is considered week to week. Mac Jones, injury. I'm going to assume that with that loss, they're probably looking to pull Purdy back as fast as they can. So keep your eye on Purdy, right? And Pearsall. People coming back into our lineups here. Puka Nacua looks like he could be a go for week 9. So keep your eye on that. Brock Bowers, same thing. Could be a go for week 9. Maybe this is the hope you need, but
we need it.
Hopefully Geno Smith can just get him some fucking passes.
Maybe that's what it needed. He just needs
his boy back.
He needs surge. His
man.
Needs
Brock Bowers back.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is expected to play Thursday night. Kyler Murray is fully expected to play versus Dallas. JJ McCarthy likely to return week 9. Oh, I had another guy, but he doesn't come back till week 10. But we're going to give you a little cutting edge situation here, ladies. Trey Benson set to come back week 10 potentially. If you do not need a running back this week, but you need one for the future, go put a waiver in for Trey Benson this week, my friends. All right, let's get into sit starts for all week 9 matchups. We've got 4 teams on bye, so not a Bipocalypse, but still definitely challenging because some big names on bye. So we have the Browns, a mini. Bipoco, no, I don't have another name.
Bipoca mini. I don't know.
Mini. Okay, that was terrible. But anyway, we've got the Browns, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Buccaneers all on bye this week. And we are going to kick this off with Baltimore versus Miami, the Thursday night game. So, Ange, kick it off with Baltimore versus Miami.
All right, first up on the Baltimore side, there are some auto starts. Now, we are assuming that Lamar Jackson is back in play for week number 9. He is a start. Derrick Henry is an auto start. Zay Flowers, also an auto start. Those guys are just elevated even more with Lamar Jackson as quarterback. When we talk about the tight end position with Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, it's kind of a back and forth, right? We're seeing Likely being put more into the lineup, having more of a role in the offense. Mark Andrews might be kind of on your list of, what do I do with him, right? Well, I'm going to give you a clear answer right here. If Lamar Jackson is in as quarterback, you are starting Mark Andrews over guys like Dalton Schultz or TJ Hawkinson or Noah Fant. You trust in him in that situation. Now, if you have guys like Pitts, Laporta, Kelsey, or even Gadsden, who I'm so glad we're still talking about, those guys are playing over Mark Andrews this week. Mark Andrews is facing a Miami defense, so it's a little bit more favorable for him, but it could be one of those hit or miss moments with him. We're not sure. Having Lamar back gives me a little bit more of a solid opinion about Mark Andrews before, what I have before rather. And then on the defensive side, I would sit the defense, but if you are in need of a big old risk it for the biscuit moment, Baltimore's defense against a really kind of trashy Miami offense could be something you need to do. That's if you're in deep, you really need somebody, you're not feeling it for that week, then gonna go with the Baltimore defense. But in most scenarios, you're sitting the Baltimore defense. On the Miami side, 2 auto starts would be Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. I am so sorry, Jalen Waddle, that we doubted you, right? I think people even wanted to waddle away from him and drop him, but he really said, don't do that for me. But that really is congruent with Tua Tagovailoa doing much, much better week number 8. All right, so on the Miami side of the ball, we have 2 very clear auto starts. Devon Achane, auto start at running back, wide receiver Jalen Waddle, who we all gave a little bit of a doubt to. People were thinking about getting rid of him. No, he is still very relevant in this offense.
I will say, if you're the Jalen Waddle manager and you hate him and you don't want him anymore, you always trade on a high week. So like, if you're looking to get the fuck rid of him, you don't trust Tua.
Yeah.
Good week to do it.
The week to do it to sell high there. Very good. All right. So, and then Tua Tagovailoa did much better in week 8, and that's why we saw Jalen Waddle perform better. But Tua is not even on your radar unless you are a manager of guys like Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts who have a week 9 bye. So if you are in a spot where you need a quarterback, he is someone then you kind of risk it for the biscuit for if you need to fill that spot. Now, when we go to the who should I start over Tua, because I don't really trust Tua, guys like Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, if he's back, Darnold, Dart, Stafford, Goff, even Jordan Love, all those guys are essentially way more consistent, way more solid starts for you in that situation. Now, if you are looking for a quarterback and you want to take a shot on a guy, there might be guys available in free agency that you don't need to waste a waiver wire pickup on just for 1 week. So just to get you through the Baker, bye week the Jalen Hurts bye week, guys like maybe CJ Stroud or Darnold or Rodgers or Flacco, I would pick up. You could look at those guys, but in that situation, you might want to go Tua over those guys just because of the more favorable matchup. And some of them are kind of battling some things like the Flacco injury. And then the defense we're sitting, I'm not even going to talk about the Miami defense. Really no other relevant wide receivers and really no tight ends to discuss.
All right, my first matchup, Chicago Bears versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I think there's some really clear, easy starts here. DeAndre Swift against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, absolutely. Same thing with Rome Odunze. I love this matchup for him as well. So easy starts of the week. I think Caleb Williams is also a really great quarterback option. I know he's let you down a couple weeks. He had a really, really bad week and then just a mediocre week this week. But again, we've got to be able to kind of like black out the past and look at the matchup. This is a really, really good matchup for him. And if you're lead quarterbacks on a bye, I think Caleb Williams a great stream. I definitely would be playing Caleb Williams over like a Kyler Murray. I trust Caleb Williams more than I trust Kyler Murray in my opinion. Also, I'm going to start Caleb Williams over any of these other rogue guys like Penix or CJ Stroud or Darnold. The only other conversation I might have is like Joe Flacco versus Caleb Williams. I might like awkwardly lean Joe Flacco, weirdly enough, pending his health, obviously. If even has a remote injury, I might say Caleb Williams. And knowing that there is an injury there, that makes me a little bit more nervous because he's elderly. So, like there's that. And then Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. Technically, Caleb Williams is like ranked quote unquote higher than Bo Nix, but I lean Bo Nix over Caleb Williams. I just have a little bit more trust in that offensive unit. They've looked really good. As far as DJ Moore, this has a little bit more of a conversation because he's not a clear start. He's kind of like that sit-start optional dude. So I would be starting guys over Moore, like Jordan Addison. I would be starting Troy Franklin over DJ Moore. That might be controversial, but that's an option that I like more, specifically with the option that Marvin Mims might be out for this next week as well. I would start DJ Moore over guys. Like I would start him over Xavier Worthy this week. I would start him over Khalil Shakir this week. I would absolutely start him over Kendrick Bourne, Darnell Mooney, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Golden. Hollywood Brown should probably be dropped from your roster at this point. So DJ Moore would all come above those guys, mostly because the matchup's really good for DJ Moore here as well. Not because I'm forcing DJ Moore into my lineup every single week. Same thing with Cole Kmet, kind of a conversation here. Good matchup for him this week. If he's the lone tight end, yes, this could also be one of the biggest sleeper picks of the end of the year here, where Cole Kmet got injured. Colston Loveland has looked good. They spent a lot of draft capital on him. Maybe they just fucking use him more now. So I think Colston Loveland, if you still roster him or if you pick him up, he's a play this week, specifically if he's alone in the backfield. Now, Menengai, I would not be looking at. I would give him the sit. In regards to the Chicago Bears defense, you're not going to start them unless if Jake Browning is the lead quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, you go ahead and pick up the rogue Chicago Bears and throw him in because Jake Browning is not good. Okay, cool. All right, Cincinnati Bengals looking over at Joe Flacco. A great streaming start this week. So if you need a quarterback to do yours on bye, you can go ahead and throw him in your lineup. Chase Brown, easy. Jamar Chase, easy. T. Higgins, easy. All of those guys are going in. I don't really want to consider Noah Fant unless I absolutely am desperate for a tight end, but I think there are plenty of options out there. I think a Kyle Pitts, Zach Ertz, Kincaid, Ferguson, Laporta, all above him. I would even put Colston Loveland above Noah Fant if Colston Loveland is the only guy there as well. And then again, the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm not considering.
No. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Bad idea. All right. Going into our next matchup here, we are talking Minnesota versus Detroit. So on the Minnesota side, there are some clear starts. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, starting Justin Jefferson, no ifs, ands, or buts. You're also starting Jordan Addison. He is also a very good start here in this matchup. Now, when we go into other guys on the Minnesota side, we talked earlier about Carson Wentz being out for the rest of the season. Poor guy, playing through some pain. And then JJ McCarthy should be back in week 9. If that's the case, I'm still not starting a Minnesota quarterback. Nothing special there. Going into the running backs, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Now, Aaron Jones came back last week. Usually I'm a little tentative on guys coming back in their first week and are they really going to do much? And they used him right away. They went right to him and Jordan Mason kind of just faded into the background, which is really sad for Jordan Mason managers, especially with how great he had been doing throughout the season. All right, so in that first game back, Aaron Jones outsnapped, outcarried Mason. He was running better. He was kept on the field, and I would sit Jordan Mason. I would play Aaron Jones. I don't know why I always get their names mixed up. Maybe because they have like first names that could be last names and last names that could be first names. I don't know why I do it, but at the tight end position.
I want to add a hot note real quick, though, on JJ McCarthy. Again, not that I would look to start him this week, but again, the easiest end of season schedule is the Minnesota Vikings. They have the easiest end of season schedule. So like, if for some reason you want to pick up JJ McCarthy, you don't need a quarterback, but you're like, I'll sit on him because I can. He'd be a great sit on it and see what happens. He showed like one good quarter in his starts when he was healthy. But if for some reason he ends up becoming something, they got an easy schedule. Maybe you need a guy, and that could be an option, specifically if your quarterback has a bye later in the year. Cool. I'm done interjecting. Go ahead.
I like it. All right. And then running into that tight end position, TJ Hawkinson is just, bleh. I don't like him. I don't like his face. I don't like his hair.
I don't like
he's trying to be George Kittle, and he's not George Kittle. But anyways, I'm sitting TJ Hawkinson. There are guys like I would play Juwan Johnson. I would play Zach Ertz over TJ Hawkinson this week. I would even consider him if you need to drop someone because you need someone. I would consider dropping TJ Hawkinson just because of his poor performance, and there's really nothing great there. And I'm going to sit the Minnesota defense. Going against Detroit, going to the Detroit side, there are some very auto starts here as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, you are starting. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you are starting. I'm very, very excited to have him back this week. At quarterback, Jared Goff is also a start. Minnesota is tough on the quarterback, but he's a good choice this week. They're a team that have quarterbacks. You might have on your team Jared Goff as maybe a secondary quarterback. There's really no reason why you're not playing him this week against this matchup. You can pop him right back in, especially if if your QB is on the bye, then no big deal at all. He's probably not your first quarterback. He's probably a backup, is what I meant to say. And then I got all jumbled up with my words. When it comes to the secondary running back, so the sidekick to Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, he's facing a tougher Minnesota defense. They're going to look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs has just been on fire. Yes, they share the backfield. I'm not really confident in David Montgomery this week. I'm going to sit him. I would start really guys like Kamani Vidal over him, better matchup for him. Even I would go as bold to say Zach Charbonnet just with the touchdown kind of work. Goal line work is what I'm saying. Yeah. And that kind of fantasy relevance there, if you're looking purely in a fantasy lens, not in just a football lens. And then tight end Sam Laporta, you can start him. He's not really been too exciting. He's had a couple good games, but he's reliable, and he's a reliable part of the offense. And then the Detroit defense, I am going to give them a start against Minnesota as well.
Carolina versus Green Bay. So let's talk about the Carolina side of the football. There's not a ton to talk about here. Andy Dalton is an easy sit. The Red Rocket failed us. He failed the entire team, okay? Maybe Bryce Young comes back, but I'm still not super interested in Bryce Young if he does come back. But I have a feeling that they might sit him one more week. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. They're splitting the backfield 50-50 right now. However, Rico looks far more explosive than Chuba. So Rico Dowdle got 8 attempts. He had 54 yards on those 8 attempts. Chuba Hubbard got 12 attempts. He had 34 yards on those 12 attempts. So, like, clearly, Rico is doing more with the work that he's getting. The head coach also mentioned that, like, we wanted to give Chuba a chance after his ankle injury, but Rico's been performing. So he really aired to this fact of, like, they are not dead set on keeping Chuba. We all thought that they would keep him because they just paid him. He had a great year last year, hurt his ankle. They paid him big money. But Rico looks far more explosive. So maybe Rico ends up making his way as that more clear back. Maybe someone gets traded. Who the fuck knows? We don't know. But if I had to start one of them, I'm starting Rico. I'm not starting Chuba. And then starting Ted McMillan, I'm not going to question that one. There's no other notable wide receivers, tight ends. I know we all had a little bit of like Xavier Legette hope because Andy Dalton like roguely targeted him a lot in that first game, but it was not worth it, unfortunately. So again, you can move on from that conversation at this point as well. And then I'm not starting the Carolina defense, specifically not against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, Jordan love him this week. Now, we did see the running game get going quite a bit on the Carolina Panthers. So James Cook cooked on the Carolina Panthers last week. Mm-hmm. And so I am worried that maybe the running game, Josh Jacobs, like runs the fuck all over the Carolina defense. So that does limit the pocket passing ability of Jordan Love. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean I don't start him. I do feel comfortable giving him the start this week, specifically looking at options like I would go Jordan Love over Dart. I would go Jordan Love over Kyler Murray. I would go Love over Flacco, Love over Stafford. I would start guys like Daniel Jones, Drake May, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, all ahead of Daniel Jones. So just some contextual information for you guys there. Josh Jacobs is an immediate start. And then so is Tucker fucking Kraft, man. Holy shit. He had a baller week, 33 fantasy points. targets. He performed beautifully. He's an easy start. You're going to keep him in your lineup. 2 wide receivers to talk about, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. In my opinion, Romeo Doubs is no longer a clear start. When Christian Watson was out, I think it was a consideration for sure. Yeah. But now that he's back, he made his way back into the lineup last week against the Steelers. I would probably consider starting Christian Watson and sitting Romeo Doubs. I would start guys like Wandale, Addison, Worthy, even maybe Trey Tucker ahead of Romeo Doubs. I'm playing Doubs, however, over Matthew Golden, Darnell Mooney, Cooper Kupp, Hollywood Brown, again, probably a droppable guy at this point as well. Love the Green Bay defense this week, specifically, regardless of the quarterback, but even better if Andy Dalton plays. So love the Green Bay Packers. I have them. I'm going to run them back again this week as well.
I like it. Andy Dalton. Good old Red Rocket. Not getting it done. All right, moving into my next game, Chargers versus the Tennessee Titans. It makes things a little bit easier when you face the Tennessee Titans because they are one of 2 teams that you can kind of just auto-start most guys. So you are starting quarterback Justin Herbert, running back Kamani Vidal. You are starting almost all of your wide receivers. You're starting Ladd McConkey for sure. You're starting Keenan Allen for sure. And then you are also starting tight end Aronde Gadsden, who is just on fire. Now, the Tennessee is a little bit tougher on the tight end, so he might get a little bit of a trickier matchup, but he's big and he's powerful. I don't think it's going to really stop him at all. Now, I kind of vaguely mentioned that there's another wide receiver there. And that is Quentin Johnston, right? And that was a big old goosey egg donut. Okay. Now, I feel that in Los Angeles, and I almost said Rams because the Chargers are the dang Rams with their things on their little.
It's the same. They're the same team in a different font.
They're the same. Right. So anyways, with the Chargers, it's really, there's so many targets. There's so many weapons. And Justin Herbert throws the ball really, really great. That any week, one guy could be amazing, one guy could be down, right? Now we might have just seen Quentin Johnston be the down week. I don't think that's the case, though. I think he's kind of starting to fall out of relevance. We're seeing them heavily rely on short passes because Herbert's not getting time. His O-line's limiting that a little bit. So I would say Quentin is just more of a sit this week. You're going with those other guys with more confidence, especially against Tennessee, who has a weak defense. You want to go with those more confident players like McConkey, Allen, and Gadsden. And then I would call the Chargers defense a very viable streamer this week against a very booty hole, like we like to say, Tennessee offense. Going to the Tennessee side, not much great stuff here. You're sitting Cam Ward. You're sitting. Let's talk about the running back because there's a little bit of a here. I have more confidence at this point in time in Tyjae Spears than Tony Pollard. If you need a running back to start and you need to go with a running back, this isn't probably your top option, but Tyjae Spears is an option. He's been getting way more in the backfield. His consistency is trending upward. He is doing more than Pollard has been doing. So sitting Pollard, better option, only had, is sharing a snap share, only had 11 carries for 44 yards. Spears is going to be the guy to look at moving forward. If you need guys over Pollard, now pending Isaiah Pacheco's injury, Kareem Hunt becomes a better option than Tony Pollard in my book. Bam Knight is a better option over Tony Pollard in my book. Other wide receivers, we've probably talked about this guy on our waiver wire and through social media, which was Chimere DK. It's very hard to say. And then every time I hear them say DK, I think, why are they talking about DK Metcalf? What is going on? And then I'm like, wait, it's the other guy. You might be looking at him on waiver wire. He may be becoming more relevant than Alec Iomanor this week against the Chargers. You're sitting both of them. You're not going to play Jimmy DK. You might want to stash him for later. You're not playing Alec Iomanor at all. Tight end Gunnar Helm was really only relevant because he had a touchdown in week number 8. You're sitting the tight end. And then hell to the no, you are not starting the Tennessee defense.
No, thank you. It's a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me.
Tennessee is so interesting because they just suck. So the offense is so, specifically the wide receiver room, they're so hard to trust because is Cam Ward going to be able to actually fucking get them the football? Probably not. So it just makes it so awkward.
And I didn't even mention Calvin Ridley, but I don't even think he's mentionable at this point.
No.
Even if he does return.
Yeah.
Doesn't
excite me. All right, we've got Atlanta versus New England. So obviously quarterback decisions, Kirk Cousins, Penix, depending on who comes back. Penix could be a potential streamer if you're really desperate for someone, but I really don't like either of those quarterbacks at this point. You're starting Bijan Robinson and you're ignoring the down week. I know he had an off week. It's going to happen. Your top guys will always have down weeks. You hope they minimize those down weeks, but you're never going to move on from Bijan Robinson. You're not going to go ahead and start Tyler Algier. He was great for the Bipocalypse week, but he's really just a handcuff to Bijan. He's not going to get that much relevant work. You're not going to be able to predict when he gets that much relevant work, because we all thought that they would blow out Miami, and that was not the freaking case at all, which was an interesting plot twist. Drake London plays, you play Drake London. This really showed us how important Drake London is to that offense operating, though. And honestly, Michael Penix, because there was just nothing happening. Drake London was out. Kirk Cousins couldn't get the ball to anybody. The only really relevant player was Kyle Pitts, because he was the only guy catching the fucking football. So who knows? So if Drake London plays, you're playing him. Darnell Mooney, no, I think you have better options out there. Like I mentioned, Booty, Trey Tucker, Christian Watson, even Romeo Doubs would all be guys I'd start over Darnell Mooney. Kyle Pitts, yes, I think he's an easy start. Don't even question that when you throw him in the lineup. Man. I hate Pitts, but unfortunately, he's a good start.
You know what? He's scrapping it out and he's getting it done. Good old Pitty Pitts.
Yes. He has, and the defense is not anything I really want. Now, the Falcons' defense has been good typically against the quarterback, but I don't really want them against Drake May. Okay,
no.
Cool. Moving on to New England, some really easy stuff here. Drake May, yes, automatic start. He looks freaking fantastic, and I love watching the New England Patriots play at this point. Stevenson, he is an auto start for me, and he's probably going to be an auto start for the foreseeable future as long as he maintains this threshold of work, which he's getting 74% of the work. He has a really easy end of season schedule. So this is a great guy to kind of take a bet on. Now, again, could that pending a change if Henderson does actually end up getting work? Yes, this was probably the most he got. He's good. Like, we can think about it. Stevenson got 14 attempts for 34 yards, right? He was involved in the passing game a little bit, but Henderson had 10 attempts and had 75 yards. So think about that. Less attempts, more yards, all of the things. And so Vrabel's not a bad coach. So what is happening in the background that we don't see? I would love to freaking know. Because
I know. It would be.
Henderson playing more?
Stevenson has to be slipping Mike Vrabel something under the table.
Yeah, maybe. Who the hell knows?
Or he's out there cleaning his car or something.
Something's happening. All right, wide receivers for the New England Patriots. Couple, Stephon Diggs and Kayshawn Booty. I almost said Kendrick. Booty, rocking everywhere. Okay, and you're always going to be clenching your booty cheeks if you do throw Booty into your lineup, because he is a true boomer bust dude. Only had 5 targets, caught 3 out of the 5, and he scored a touchdown. So that's why he ended up scoring 16.5 fantasy points. But you can play him 100%. But you're always going to be nervous that maybe he doesn't catch that long pass and maybe he ends up scoring you 2 fucking points or no points at all. Yeah. It just is what it is, right? I think he's a startable option this week for sure. It just, again, depends on who you would choose to start him over. Diggs, in my opinion, is a start. I go Diggs over Shakir. I go Diggs over Worthy, in my opinion. I feel a little bit safer playing Addison over Diggs. I just think, again, a little bit of an easier matchup here. And let's just hope JJ connects with him. So that's some options there. Hunter Henry, he really hasn't been getting the targets, right? Targets have definitely come down. They can really trust their wide receiver room. So I'm not really hot on Hunter Henry at this point, unless he has an absolutely obscene matchup. He's not someone I really want to rely on. And this is not a great matchup for him. So I would go guys even like Theo Jones, who probably will get elevated in that offense because of the massive amount of injuries for the Giants. I would play him over Henry. Ertz, Pitts, Laporta, Gadsden, Loveland, all ahead of Hunter Henry as well. And then looking at the New England defense, I mean, it depends. I probably don't play them if Penix comes back, but if Kirk Cousins in, then maybe, but probably a potential sit option for defense this week.
All right, moving into my game, San Francisco versus the Giants. On the San Francisco side, Amanda said it with Bijan. I'm going to say it with CMC. He's a must start. Yes, he had a down week. We found out that the man is human, that every week is not going to be a 20-plus point week, which I know Amanda is singing because she had him
played against him. Yes.
And that's the most ideal, godsend moment when you
That never happens to me either.
No.
Ever.
No, that doesn't happen to me. And so good for you. That does not happen to me because I think I played against Jonathan Taylor. boom, just crushed. James Cook crushed. So that you love when that happens.
I know.
So he is an auto start. Now we talk about some other guys in the quarterbacks. We talked about Brock Purdy trending to be back, especially with Mac Jones kind of being on the out. Adrian Martinez is that creeping in third stringer. I just wanted to find it. I thought it was a fun fact. He is a rookie, so we'll see. But Brock Purdy will be in, right? His toe is magically better now that they need him. He could be a potential start for this week. If you want to kind of play it a little safe and you want to say, I want to give him a week back, but I think he's a good guy to pop in if you need him for sure, especially if you're in that Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield situation and you need a more reliable quarterback. When we go to wide receivers, we are keeping an eye on Ricky Pearsall and his return. The coaching staff said that he's practicing this week, should be good to go for week number 9. You're watching his status. We would love to see him back. The poor guy suffered a gunshot injury, came back with a vengeance, and then had a knee injury. So
give me Ricky Dickey back, baby.
Womp, right? If he's back, you're plugging him in. Jawan Jennings is also a guy to look at. If you're looking at who to play Jawan Jennings over, you're probably going to play Jawan Jennings over guys like Rashid Shaheed, especially because there were some trade rumors that being discussed about Rashid Shaheed. Now, we differed in this opinion. I have more confidence in Josh Downs going against a kind of weak Pittsburgh Steelers offense against wide receiver and Jawan Jennings. I would go Downs over Jennings. That is, again, just my personal opinion. But
fair. I like it.
And then George Kittle, I forgot about George Kittle because he was not around, right? And then he goosed you last week. But George Kittle, we had a lot of people asking, what do I do about George Kittle? He gave me a 0. What do I do? No, you always start George Kittle. Hold he is the faith.
Hold the faith.
Exactly. And then the 49ers defense could be a streaming option if you need a defense this week against the Giants, just because the Giants have lost some of their weapons. Going into the Giants offense, poor Jackson Dart is without some more guys, right? We would love to see him with Malik Neighbors. We would love to see him finish out the year with Cam Scatterbo. Unfortunately, is not going to happen. So the game has a little bit changed for them. The offense has changed for them. So what are they going to do? Now, we did see CJ Stroud take advantage of the San Francisco defense in last week's game. So maybe Jackson Dart do the same thing. I think Jackson Dart is a start. You can start him if you need him for sure. I wouldn't be worried about that. If you have options, maybe like a Sam Darnold to stream for the week or a Jackson Dart, just because Sam Darnold has more reliable pass catchers, he could be a better option. So he has JSN right there for him. I mean, we don't have anybody like that in the Giants offense. When we go into the running back, Tyrone Tracy can be popped right in there in place of Cam Scatterbo. Just because you probably need a running back if you're able to grab him. If for some freak reason you had him, great for you because that is the exact thing you get a handcuff for. I'm going to sit Wan'Dale Robinson this week. I'm going to start guys like Josh Downs over Robinson, Worthy over Robinson. I'm going to start Theo Johnson. I think he could be a good option for Jackson Dart. He has been a good option for him, especially now that one of his big assets in Cam Scatterbo is out.
Yep.
But if you have options like Ertz, because of the matchup, Ertz might be a better option against Johnson. A little bit tougher of a matchup for the tight end position. And I would go, if Lamar's back, I would go Andrews over Johnson. I feel more confident in that. And then I am sitting the Giants defense.
Fair. All right. Indianapolis Colts versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. So easy ones here. You're starting Daniel Jones. You're starting Jonathan Taylor. You're starting Michael Pittman. And you are starting Tyler Warren. So easy, no conversations. Lock them in your lineup and forget that they're there. Moving on to the wide receivers. We've got 2 guys, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. This is hard because you're basically trying to guess on which one do you think is going to be more involved in the offense. Josh Downs was not technically more involved because Pierce had 5 targets. So 2 receptions, 5 targets, and Josh Downs had 3. So he was just 3 for 3 and 3 and happened to catch that touchdown. So basically, if you're deciding Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, you're just kind of trying to bet on who do you think is going to end up in the end zone. I think both of them are fine starts to throw into your lineup. They very much remind me of like a Rashid Shaheed or a Kayshon Boutte. You're going to be upset if they either don't get a lot of yards or a touchdown. Because like you're not mad with Alec Pierce's 8.9, but you're also not like excited about his 8.9, right?
No.
But you are excited about Josh Downs' 12.9, right? That feels much better for you from a wide receiver. I think both guys are risky start options for the week. It just really depends on what else you have on your roster. If you need one of them, though, they are a fine start for the week for sure. That offense has been explosive. Do I think the Indianapolis Colts' defense is good to go against the Steelers? Yes, I do. The Steelers' offense has been on the decline, struggling as they have many years past, right? They come out hot, and then it's kind of like, the fuck are we doing? And Chris Boswell scores 20 motherfucking points as a kicker. Great stuff, right? You're like, when your kicker scores 20 points, you know the offense sucks right now. And we're Steelers fans, so saying that hurts our hearts. But Aaron Rodgers is fired up too. So on the Pittsburgh Steelers side of the offense, Aaron Rodgers, no, I think there's plenty of other options out there, like a Joe Flacco, like a Jackson Dart, you'd all consider before Aaron Rodgers. Jaylen Warren, your roster probably tells you have to keep starting him. We knew he was going to have a rough time this past week against the Green Bay Packers, and he did. He should do much better this week, so I still throw Jaylen Warren in, and he's still getting 62% of the work. So that means Kenneth Gainwell's a sit because he's still a clear backup to Jaylen Warren. I don't think they're going to move away from Jaylen Warren unless something detrimental happens. DK Metcalf, again, a start. And again, you're not going to feel good about that unless he scores a touchdown or at least catches somewhere balls. He did fine this week, but we hope that continues to happen.
We want to see him have a breakout.
Yes. Like, we just want to see him be like equivalent to like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson. Like we want that type of usage, and it just feels like that's not happening, and it's very odd, and I wish I could understand why.
I feel like it's close. I feel like he's had a lot of catches that he didn't make that could have elevated him to that big boy level.
Very similar to last year when we saw Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like, it took them a while, and then they got hot. And then Devontae Adams was a no-brainer start. I think that's maybe what we're seeing. Like, maybe they just need a little more rapport building, right? Yeah. Who knows? Maybe DK shares some candy with Aaron Rodgers. And now they're friends. Maybe some nerd gummy clusters were shared and they're friends now. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't strike me as a candy guy. So.
No. Then he's like, no, I ain't getting diabetes. And then they're having
I don't want diabetes.
There's no rapport. And oh, no.
Who knows? In my opinion, there's no other wide receivers to consider. It's just a potpourri of roulette. You don't want Wilson, Austin Skowronek, none of that. And again, same thing with the tight ends. I'm not risking it. The defense has not been good enough for me to start, specifically not against really, really good offenses like the Indianapolis Colts.
I did hear that they were signing Valdez-Scantling to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
MBR.
Do you think that gives us a little bit more hope or no? No, nothing special there. Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know if it would be a surge and maybe like, oh yeah, let's believe in him. I did pick him up. Remember I picked him up one time last year and then he like did really good for me?
Yeah.
Moving into the Denver versus Houston game, very clear starts on the Denver side. We are going Bo Nix at quarterback for sure start. J.K. Dobbins. I will mention R.J. Harvey here because it's someone that you don't forget about. Courtland Sutton is a start. He has been extremely reliable. Maybe hasn't had the best games in the past, but he's still a guy you're looking at. And I'm going to call Troy Franklin a start, especially with the Marvin Mims concussion and him possibly being out for week 9. Troy Franklin, especially last week, really stepped into the spotlight for me, but had been trending in that way. It wasn't like a freak out of the blue situation. Now, when we talk about RJ Harvey, he had a breakout game last week. I think really simply because of the defense that they played. They were able to get both of their backs involved. Now, Sean Payton has come out and say that he wants to split a backfield. He wants to build that backfield that is split, kind of a la Detroit Lions, right? And I think we really started to see that happening in a good way. So RJ Harvey is someone that if you have, great. It's not someone you plug and play this week against a tougher Houston defense. So J.K. Dobbins, yes. RJ Harvey this week, no. But if you really need somebody.
The fact that, Denver is facing Houston, which is the second hardest against a wide receiver, and Houston is facing Denver, which is the number one against the receiver.
Exactly. I don't know, because last week we saw a lot of like elite defenses offenses against booty defenses. And then, but it really was like not how the game script should have went. Right. So maybe the two,
top
at the
guys.
same levels, I don't know what that'll do. Maybe it'll just shake it all up again.
I know.
We said Marvin Mims is probably out with that concussion, so Troy Franklin's being popped in there. I'm going to sit Evan Ingram a little bit tougher on the tight end, and I'm going to look at guys like to stream over Evan Ingram this week. AJ Barner has a good matchup. And Andrews, again, I keep bringing this up. If Lamar is back, I think Mark Andrews becomes a whole hell of a lot more relevant for the Baltimore Ravens. I am starting the Denver defense. On the Houston side, I'm sitting CJ Stroud. We saw him come back a little bit more, bounce back in the game last week from mediocre CJ to a little bit better CJ, but this defense is pretty good. Woody Marks, I am going to sit this week. And oh my goodness. This one's a hard one. This one's a discussion here because Nick Chubb hasn't been great. Woody Marks has been better. So 100. Never mind. I take back what I just said. I'm starting Marks over Chubb. If I need a running back who has more receiving upside, who has been more reliable in the receiving game, we are going Woody Marks. Usually when I set my notes up, I don't set the rookie above that. So I think that's why it threw me off. Right. So there are really guys that you need to be looking at over Chubb this week. One of those guys is on his own team in Woody Marks. Denver's a little easier against the run. They have a good defense, but that's maybe their one little weak spot. Woody Marks could kind of capitalize on that. At wide receiver, we're watching to see if Nico Collins is back in week number 9 from that concussion. Christian Kirk also could be back, but they really spread the ball around the field, right? So they had guys like Hutchinson, Higgins, Knoll, Berrios. Everybody was making some sort of relevance there. No one that I would go look at for sure. Guys that you could look at if you need that wide receiver fill-in could be guys like Higgins or Hutchinson. I think they're the most relevant there in the offense.
I don't think Christian Kirk's going to be their wide receiver too. So I think they got him in hopes to see how their rookies performed, and now they're seeing the rookies perform well. So in my opinion, Hutchinson or Higgins really comes down to this opinion of hold them, don't play them this week, because this is a shitty matchup for the wide receivers as it is. Hold them, don't play them, but wait. And now that conversation does slightly change. If Nico Collins doesn't go, then Higgins or Hutchinson could potentially be a start for you, but that's a whole different conversation. It just depends. Nonetheless, though, I think these are guys that if you feel really good about one, if you're like, I love Higgins, I want him, roster him, don't play him, and wait to see what happens. And see if Hutchinson or Higgins makes their way as the clear wide receiver too, then you'll feel better about starting them. Very similar to a JJ Jordan-Addison situation. You feel good about starting Jordan-Addison along JJ, even though JJ's the wide receiver 1, right? You wait to see if that starts to happen in their offense. If it does, you feel good. If not, then it's a potpourri, it's a car for everyone, Oprah situation that you don't want any part of.
And then tight end Dalton Schultz, I really thought was going to be the guy last week, especially being freaking, if I had to hear them say National Tight Ends Day again, I was going to gouge my ear.
It's my favorite day, National Tight Ends Day.
They were just drilling it in your brains.
Always.
And I was like, I know what it is.
I almost said, girl math says play 2 tight ends this week because it's National Tight End Day.
Well, poor Dalton Schultz didn't pan out. He did not celebrate. Also sitting him this week. I am, however, going to start the Houston or defense. I'm almost on offense again.
All right. I like it. It should be a good defensive matchup. We might see the run game get going quite a bit there. So we'll see how that actually plays out. Again, I think, the conversation becomes so many professionals, fantasy football professionals will talk matchups and this offense and defense is really hard. And yes, that's obviously part of the conversation we have, right? Houston and Denver. Do I feel really solid about starting those wide receivers from Denver? No. But also, I think sometimes then we end up making decisions that don't actually pan out that way, and then we get mad about it. So guys like Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin, even though they are facing a difficult defense, I'm still going to start them. So trust your gut, because even if you end up trusting your gut and getting it wrong, you'll be far less mad than if you trust the professional, specifically the fucking bros on the internet who, if you've ever seen them pop up on TikTok, they are oh yeah, dude, we should start this, dude. I'm like, this man, I want to punch in the nose. So don't listen to that. I saw someone who was like, I trusted this man. And I'm like, why the fuck are we doing that? Like, you trust us, right? All right, Jacksonville versus Vegas. Let's get into it. Jacksonville coming off of the bye. I think Trevor Lawrence would potentially be a streaming quarterback option if you're really desperate for one. Do I feel super good about that? No. But if you're really desperate for a quarterback, it's a risky maybe situation. In my opinion, Travis Etienne, Bishal Tootin. Travis Etienne is still getting most of the work over Bishal Tootin, but we have saw them start to share more time in that backfield. So in my opinion, if I needed to start someone, I'd probably lean starting Travis Etienne over Bishal Tootin, unless you were desperate and needed to throw a Tootin in. But I would definitely lean like an RJ Harvey over a Bishal Tootin for sure. So like, just keep that in mind. Again, I would look at guys like J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, all ahead of Travis Etienne as well. I might even, it just depends on how much work he gets. I would like to see how much work they give him this week. But like, even maybe the work Tyrone Tracy gets, does he become better off fantasy relevance-wise than Travis Etienne? Because they have been putting Tootin in that goal line work as well, which just makes Travis Etienne less relevant, which is sad for ETN managers, right? It's very much relevant of that Walker versus Charbonnet conversation.
Just going to say that. Yep.
Makes us all want to bounce our head against the wall. All right. BTJ was facing an injury week 7, bye week 8, coming back week 9. Keep your eye on that. If he plays, I'm assuming you got to play him because you drafted him as a wide receiver 1. Also, there are rumblings of trade shit happening. So just keep that in mind there as well. Watch it. Travis Hunter. I think you started this week. It's risky for fucking sure. I think it's a sneaky good start though, specifically if BTJ doesn't play. But even if BTJ plays, I play Travis Hunter. The connection between him and Trevor Lawrence are there. We saw him really break out week number 7. I see that to continue. And you know when you get a vibe about someone, just seems like a good ass motherfucker. Like he's just out there for a good ass time, and we love that about him. So I do think take the risk it for the biscuit on Travis Hunter this week. Strange could be coming back from injury, so keep your eye on it. I think there's better options for you this week, but if you really were desperate for a streaming tight end option, maybe they get him more involved if BTJ does not play. And then the Jacksonville defense this week, absolutely, they're playing the Vegas Raiders. And who loves to throw interceptions? Geno Smith himself. That leads me right into the Vegas Raiders. So I'm sitting Geno Smith. Don't you dare roster him. I'm waiting for them to make a quarterback change. Like, I hope they do. I think
I can't believe it hasn't happened yet.
Dude, me either. Every time they benched Spencer Rattler. And I was like, yes, Rat Attack was struggling, but like, fuck, man. Like, Geno Smith has thrown an interception every game.
I know. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe,
don't get it.
Yeah, me either. Ashton Genty, I know he's coming off of a down week. I had women ask me if they should drop Ashton Genty. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. If you don't like him, you can offer a trade, but don't drop him. He is to start this week for me. Really, really risky in the wide receiver room. Trey Tucker, it would be a super duper risky start, but I would go Trey Tucker over like a Jameson Williams. I would also play Trey Tucker over Quentin Johnston as well. I think there's at least you're going to score some fantasy points with Trey Tucker. You don't want to get goose egged by QJ again, right? Those are all things too. I would also I would start guys like Christian Watson, Jordan Addison, Wan'Dale Robinson, all ahead of Trey Tucker, though. I'm not even thinking about Jacoby Myers. His relevance hasn't been that bad. I think he's droppable, but he's definitely a sit. Bowers, Mayer. If Bowers plays, you play him. If Bowers is out and Mayer plays, I think you could play him too. So either one's a great option this week.
I need him back. Don't put that in the universe.
Does. I know.
I actually forgot about him for a minute. I know. And then I saw him pop up on he's going to be back. And I was like, yes.
Hopes and prayers.
Oh, yes. All right. Jumping into New Orleans and the Rams or the Chargers, the Rams. What is it? We don't know.
Wait, who was it? We didn't even talk about it. The Chargers. They looked so much fucking better this week. Like their uniforms were the all navy blue. I came out. I was like, there we go. But the fucking
we were texting. What is that? It was like round 2 of the banana ball. Like, what is going on?
It was work. I'm sorry. I choose banana ball over the monstrosity that was that outfit choice.
Well, and I didn't even honestly, until you said it, I didn't realize the weird flesh pants.
It didn't match.
No, it was gross.
That doesn't match.
No, well, it was like a throwback, but like that's the throwback. There have been so many more better throwbacks in the past than that.
I'm like, listen, there's so many decades of football that have been played and designs that have been done. And this is like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're pretty like prominent. They've always been what? It looked like they were wearing like a weighted vest on their jersey with flesh and then pantsless. They were Donald Ducking it too, because I'm like, or Pooh Bearing it, whatever. They had no
see
pants
that.
Bad.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers Pooh Bearing it. Nobody wants to see that.
Oh no! Get your shit together. Like, who's in charge of these decisions?
A man, not a lady. A man.
Okay,
let's jump into New Orleans and the Rams. So on the New Orleans side, the only clear start for me is Chris Olave. I feel so bad for Chris Olave because he is a stud and he just doesn't have anybody there for him. Going into the quarterback, you're sitting Tyler Shuck, which I don't even know how you say that with the GH at the end, but I've listened to it enough times.
That's not how it should. I say shug or I've said
show.
Yeah. I'm like, how the fuck do you say it? But it's Shuck. Yeah. And he's like a 26-year-old rookie. Like,
I know.
He's closer to age to us than most rookies.
Yeah. Exactly. So he is now in and he is not doing anything for the team. It's basically just status quo. It was like Rattler and then maybe it was like show, back to the down.
It was like a heartbeat and then it was flatlined again.
So they were like, yes, no, you're sitting him. Okay, in the running back room, I personally am just fed the fuck up with Alvin Kamara. I am done. Now, he's probably still someone you have to pop in. He still has that relevance because of, Miller's out. Now you can kind of look at his backup who I did grab and then I dropped and I was all scared about the situation. But we're still dealing with possible injuries with Kamara. We're still maybe some trade rumors with Kamara. We don't know what's going on. I personally would choose to start RJ Harvey and have that big game with a rookie than trust Kamara again. Now, I'm in a situation on my team where I almost have to. I have to play him. I don't have anybody else. You might be in that same situation. So if that's the case, he's not goose egging us. He's getting us some points. So he's not where
unfortunate. Yes. Because they had to they were down by so much. They just had to sling the ball and hope for an upside and it didn't happen.
No. So, which I thought was going to be the opposite and we were going to run the ball to be a little safer, but we're not doing that. And then going on to Rashid Shaheed, I would not start him with a rookie quarterback at the helm. He's a boom or bust player who relies on big throws. Those big throws from rookies are usually intercepted. So not loving it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would you play Jamison Williams or Rashid Shaheed?
Who did the Lions play again?
Fully, I don't remember because it's too deep in my brain.
We're too deep in it.
Pause, my brain got it. It is Minnesota.
I would probably go Rashid Shaheed. I think I would. I don't think I would.
Would too.
I wouldn't. I don't like the Jamison Williams. It just kind of gives me a weird taste in my mouth. So I'm going to go Rashid Shaheed.
He gives you the ick?
It gives me the ick, but I would definitely start guys like, and I am the same on Amanda. I'm hot on the Indianapolis guys for sure. So Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, I like them with their quarterback in Danny Dimes versus the Shuck, the Shuck attack here. Even Jawan Jennings, I'm playing over Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
We already talked about Chris Olave. Jawan Johnson is very relevant. Amanda said it last week. He's apparently not dead.
Apparently he's not dead yet.
He was high and then low. But they are I wouldn't start him this week. I'd go guys over like Theo Johnson. I'd even pick up Pat Freiermuth against that poorish defense against the tight end against Indianapolis, who isn't great against the tight end. If you really need a tight end badly, you probably don't need someone enough to grab one of them. But just
you would play Pat Freiermuth over Jawan Johnson.
I would. I like the move. I like the move.
What about Johnny Smith? Taking targets away, sharing time with Freiermuth. I would never.
Maybe between those two, I wouldn't go with the Freiermuth. Okay. Like the Freiermuth, I have good feelings. It's one of those gut things.
It's a gut thing. Gut check it, man. You go with your gut, ladies, dude.
If you feel it in the gut, go with the gut.
Go with the
New
gut.
Orleans defense, I'm sitting. let's go into the Rams quickly here. We are going into Matt Stafford. I would play guys like Jordan Love and Joe Flacco over Matt Stafford, in my opinion, this week. If you have Stafford, you're probably rostering another quarterback. So he's probably not your only option for you. He's not a bad option. But if you, let's say you have someone like Kyler Murray, who I don't have much faith in at all, I would go Stafford over Murray. There are some other guys that you are clear starting. Kyron Williams, you are starting. Puka Nacua, you are starting. Devontae Adams, you are starting on the Rams side. Nothing really special in the tight end room. Their defense is definitely a streaming option. There are really two offenses that you play the defense against, and one of those offenses is the New Orleans Saints. Well, actually, maybe three. New Orleans Saints, I would say the Raiders, and I would also say the Tennessee Titans. So there are three. Never mind.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get it going with your next game.
Yeah, I think this could be the game of the week. We have the Bills Kansas City versus Buffalo Bills, because it is at the Bills Stadium. It's a good game. So easy guys to start here. You're starting Patrick Mahomes. You are also going to go ahead and start Rashee Rice. I don't think Xavier Worthy is out of the picture. I think Hollywood Brown is out of the picture. Xavier Worthy could potentially be started. Brown and Thornton are both guys you can go ahead and drop off your roster. They might have big games, but you're never going to be able to predict when. I think I would potentially think about starting Worthy. It just depends on options here. I would start, though, Shakir, Tet, Addison, even Travis Hunter ahead of Xavier Worthy. This is going to be a hard matchup, so in my opinion, those favorable guys I would lean over. It doesn't mean Worthy's a sit every week. He just might be a sit for me this week. Travis Kelce, you're going to keep throwing in your lineup until he tells us otherwise, because even though he had that weird pop off the hands interception situation, he ended up scoring 21.9 points. Isaiah Pacheco, you got to keep your eye on due to injury. If for some reason he ends up going and you really need a guy, maybe. You just always going to worry about him. I would definitely go like Tyrone Tracy over Pacheco, in my opinion. And then again, Hunt, Smith, Hunt's just getting so much goal line work. You're never going to feel good about putting Kareem Hunt in your lineup. But it's going to be a very much holy shit, I hope this works moment. So I guess if you're desperate, maybe just for the potential upside. And to me, I'm only really going to think about putting Hunt in if I had a Thursday night player play and he fucking shit the bed. Let's say you had it last week and QJ goose egged you and you're like, what the fuck do I do? You go upside. You throw someone like Hunt in and take the L if you lose, or get the 17-point game and win your week because of it. So to me, he's a desperate option if I'm already losing. I don't love the Kansas City defense against the Bills, in my opinion. Bills, again, easy starts. Josh Allen, James Cook, and Dalton Kincaid. I know he didn't have a great week, but they really didn't need him because James Cook ran all over that off defense, and Khalil Shakir got a touchdown. So he really was irrelevant, but Dalton Kincaid's a good pick. Khalil Shakir is kind of that sit start. I'm not overly eager to start him because you're probably going to be disappointed if he doesn't end up scoring a touchdown. Nonetheless, I think Khalil Shakir is a fine start if you need him. Again, there's a good amount of buys. Devontae Smith's on a buy. AJ Brown was hurt on a buy again. Emeka Buka. So you might need to throw Khalil Shakir in your lineup, and I think he's a fine guy to pass you over. I just don't think his 20-point game is anything you should get overly used to. I think we could rely on him to get us an 8 to 10-point game, and we'll feel really good about that. So again, if you have a guy who could potentially give you more upside, then maybe Khalil Shakir's a sit, but you probably got to end up starting him. And then again, Bills defense, I'm not interested in, again, because of the matchup. Patrick Mahomes on fire. I really don't want a quarterback who's going to throw all over my defense like that.
No. All right. We're going to head into my last matchup, Seattle versus Washington. On the Seattle side, I don't have any just for sure starts except for JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is a start. He is a stud. He is the guy on that team. At quarterback, Sam Darnold is a streamer option if you need somebody to look at, especially with this matchup, especially with JSN on that team. As we go into the running backs, we talked a little bit already about that split backfield, about that Kenneth Walker, about that Zach Charbonnet. It's really, really hard to see Walker be kind of stolen touches, right? And then they pop Charbonnet in. He's getting that goal line work. So who are we trusting more here? In a fantasy perspective, we're going with Charbs, right? Because he's getting you the fantasy points, even though Walker is being more productive. So in this particular case, against this, either one of them, I don't think are bad starts against this defense.
Okay.
It really is just a who do you got and who else do you have on your team situation. But Sharps is definitely vulturing tutties from Big Ken. That's what I put in my notes. I liked that line, so I read it.
Kenny.
Kenny.
I hate it when teams do that. I get it. Like, you got to win your game, do what you got to do, keep your running backs healthy. But like, from a fantasy perspective, it's a middle finger. I'm like, come on. Like, now my one of my lead running backs isn't even getting the end zone that he earned. They're like, oh, go ahead, Sharps. You suck, but get in the end zone, buddy. Get your tutties. I'm obviously the Kenneth Walker manager, and it's pissing me off.
Something weird's happening in that running back room in different teams. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe
all right. Other wide receiver is
Walker's last year with the Seahawks potentially. So like,
true. So they're like, screw you, Kenny. All right, going into another wide receiver, Cooper Kupp. I'm sitting this week. I don't have a lot of faith in Cooper Kupp. And then in the tight end room, AJ Barner. I'm going to start because this is an easier matchup for tight ends. I'm going to play Barner over guys like Hunter Henry, Barner over guys like Dalton Schultz this week. I'm also going to start the Seattle Seahawks defense. I think they are a good start here against the Washington Commanders. On the Washington side, pending Jaden Daniels' recovery here, I think he will be good to go for week number 9. He is going to be a start. If not, things maybe change a little bit for other guys on the team if Mariota's behind the ball once again. I am starting Terry McLaurin. I am starting Deebo Samuel this week. Now watch Terry's status because of that quad eruption that he just keeps having.
You start him even with that lingering quad injury?
Maybe I'm biased because sometimes that's all I got, but that's a good point. Deebo, I'm trusting more. Even before the quad, I wasn't trusting Terry as much anyways. So probably would be a little bit iffy on that case. They might be looking for guys like Zach Ertz a little bit more. So Zach Ertz is a start for me in the tight end position on this team. And Terry McLaurin, what do you think he'll be back? Do you think he'll be out? Do you think they'll tend to it with his scary teariness?
It's the same injury that re-aggravated, in my opinion. Either he gets ruled out or I don't trust it. I don't want the opportunity for the first round of the game for him to hurt that. I mean, it's the same issue. So I wouldn't trust it. It's not something that I'm willing to take a risk on because I don't want to get goose egged by a guy going out. Like if I'm going to get goose egged by a guy getting hurt or get low points, it's because a freak injury, not an injury that I did know about.
That you knew about. That's a very good point. And I wasn't thinking of it in that case of like, it could aggravate and then all of a sudden I have 1 point or 0 points and boom, it wasn't because of some, big play. And then the running back, I don't even know what to say about poor Bill anymore. I don't even know. Against the Seattle defense, I am sitting him. I don't have hope in him.
It sucks. We thought it was such a good matchup last week too. And he blew it on 2 matchups. Chicago, Dallas blew it. Now, Chicago, we saw more kind of upside and highlight, and then the Dallas, just nothing happened. So at this point, I am going to be sitting Bill and going with another option. I would go probably with Charbonnet over Bill at this point, just because he's getting more fantasy relevance. And then the defense against the Seahawks might be a streaming option, probably going more toward the sit. They had some good bright spots in that Kansas City game last night on Monday night with some turnovers. But I'm probably going to sit them just because that is a harder offense that they're going up against. Yeah, absolutely. All right, my final matchup here is Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. So I think that there's better starting quarterback options over Kyler Murray. So in my opinion, I do not trust him. I would go ahead and sit him down. I think you can stream even like a Sam Darnold over a Kyler Murray. That's just my personal opinion, though. So unless you really had on him, Bam Knight, again, we just talked about JCM. I'm starting Bam Knight over JCM for sure. This is a good matchup for Bam Knight. I'm going to milk as much as I can out of him. They do drop Michael Card.
Don't make the motion for the milking.
I'm going to milk him. Anyways, I didn't even know
that was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen.
Didn't even notice I did that until you said that either.
You were just like
well, I'm animated with my hands. I can't stop.
You are milking and everything.
I know. Well, they did drop Michael Carter from the Cardinals. So Bam Knight is the lead back. Now, there is some rumblings that they're gonna bring him back, and there was did they already? Okay, never mind.
Well, I think he's on a waiver, so like another team could swoop in and grab him.
Yes. I think they did it from like a contract like thing and like good for them, but you do what you got to do. But I still start Bam Knight for sure. Yeah. It's a good matchup for him. I like him over Mason, Pacheco, Pollard, JCM, all guys I would look at starting over. And then I'm not starting Michael Carter though. So I would start Bam Knight though. Marvin Harrison, yes, it's a great matchup for Marv. So go ahead and get him back in your lineup. Trey McBride, absolutely. You're never going to sit him. There's really no other relevant wide receivers. And I'm not playing the Cardinals defense going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, I know he did bad for you last week. You hold the faith in Dak though. There's going to be weeks like this. I wish they weren't, right? And sometimes if your roster allows you to make a better decision, go for it. But I'm going to play I'm going to hang tight on Prescott. So the only guys I'm starting over Prescott is like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Drake May, and Daniel Jones. So if you don't have any of those guys, start Dak Prescott. Okay, cool. Javonte Williams still looking really good. So happy for him. CeeDee Lamb does start. George Pickens to me is lock him in your lineup. I know some people have asked questions like, he's performing great alongside of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has not taken away from his production at all. In fact, it's only helped both of them a little bit to have both weapons on the field. I know the Ferg man goose egged you, which was a plot twist I quite honestly did not see coming. It hurt everyone's soul. It was an unexpected goose egg, in my opinion. Trust the plot, start him. Hear me again. Trust the plot. Start him. Don't sit him. Cool. The defense, absolutely freaking not. And that, my friends, is all of your week 9 matchups. We did it. And so let's run it into our sweet and spicy starts of the week to wrap up the episode and kick us off with your sweet start of the week.
My sweet start of the week is Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Dallas. Dallas has been letting the receivers do bad things to them. And I think Marvin Harrison is going to take full advantage of that. Let's see that breakout game. Let's hope that Kyler is the quarterback we hope Kyler could be. So we'll see. I actually would give more faith in Jacoby Brissett, but it's okay.
I know. Okay. Same here.
Amanda, who is your sweet?
My sweet start of the week is Zay Flowers. We have Lamar Jackson most likely making his way back into the lineup. Zay Flowers has been relevant even without him, and which has been great, but I think this is only going to elevate your sweet start of the week being Zay Flowers. I would say Lamar Jackson if it wasn't a fucking no-brainer, but Zay Flowers is my sweet start of the week. I'm excited to see him continue to produce with that Baltimore offense. Do I love the Baltimore Ravens? No. Okay, I hate them. However, we love to see the fantasy value in a guy increase, so Zay Flowers would be my start of the week. All right, let's get into spicy start of the week.
Spicy start of the week. This one's an up there on the Scoville meter. Colston Loveland is my spicy start. If Cole Kmet is out, and when we saw Cole Kmet out, Loveland saw 81% snap rate. So huge. Okay. He was underwhelming in the past, underwhelming so far. Week 9 is the time for him to shine against that Cincinnati defense. So Colston Loveland, spicy goes pepper habanero.
I love it. Well, my spicy start of the week is Travis Hunter. I think it's even better. I think it's a little less spicy if BTJ doesn't play. But even if BTJ does play, I'm locking Travis Hunter in my lineup and trusting that. Again, I think him and Trevor Lawrence have been connecting really well. They're coming off of a bye week. They're likely maybe schemed up some place to get Hunter more involved. So I think it's spicy, but I think it's absolutely worth the risk. So if you're considering an option to throw Travis Hunter in your lineup, maybe this is the week you trust your gut and you go for it, my friends. All right, so those are all of our week 9 matchups of the week. Make sure you follow us on social media at Let's Talk Football Sis. If you have any questions, you can always ask there. We try to get back to as many comments as physically possible. But if you want more individualized roster advice, that is exactly why we have our Patreon. You can join the Patreon at the bottom of the page in the show notes. We go over individual rosters, meaning I sit down and review rosters to make sure who's sitting, who's starting, waiver wire, all of it. So you can get custom roster advice. We're not going to be able to do custom roster advice forever. We're growing rapidly. So take advantage of it while we can. Yes. Join the Patreon today in the show notes. The only other little tidbit thing to mention is if you guys happen to know anybody in the, let's say, influencer marketing with any brands out there who are looking to partner with a female podcast that's growing in nature, we would love some connections. Help the girls out, shall you? Right now, we are fully funding this podcast on our own. So we're funding this ourselves. We have so much passion for this bullshit. And we really do believe that this podcast should stay for women in the fantasy football space because there is no other ones. But if you guys listening happen to know maybe someone in influencer marketing with a brand and you could connect us, you should email us at letstalkfootballsis1@gmail.com. You should send us an email, or you maybe happen to be an influencer looking to maybe partner with someone to get our information out there. We would love to chat. We would love to chat more. We would appreciate any support in helping us make this a reality to continue season after season. So we thank you for your support. We love you guys for any help you can provide, and we will see you all in week number 10.
See you week 10.
Bye, guys.
It gives me the ick.
Oh, yeah, dude. We should start this, dude.
Stinky poo-poo.
I didn't milk him.